Hello viewers, and then right now we're going to see the industrializations of Indonesia. So the issue of the industrializations in Indonesia is kind of proved as the contributions of the manufacturing sectors is increasingly shrinking towards the economy. As the evidence, the realization investment up to the quarter of 2019 only reached 601 trillion rupiah.
Lagging Indonesia from other countries in investment realization is assessed by Senior Economic of India Sri Hartati as a result of weak government policy in protecting investors. Weak manufacturing industry according to Annie, also a major reason behind not optimal realization of investment. Annie urged the government to have an industrial policy to encourage manufacturing industry to grow. The policy will later project industry opportunity that will develop and demand the global market. So far, according to Annie, the inconsistency and uniformity of minister and institution policies makes industrial policies not work. So investors are reluctant to realize their investment in Indonesia.
Apa sih yang harus segera kita benahi, kita prioritaskan untuk dibenahi? Itu kan hasil dari indeks kompetitif, indeks daya saing kita yang dikeluarkan oleh World Bank itu sudah cukup jelas menunjukkan apa yang harus kita benahi, karena di dalam komponen-komponen atau indikator-indikator yang kita masih berada di ranking yang sangat buruk atau mempunyai value yang sangat rendah itu kan di beberapa aspek. Misalnya pertama di institusi ini kan keterkaitan nanti hubungannya dengan kepastian regulasi, jadi hampir variabel yang terkait dengan institusional itu pasti rendah. Nah, artinya kan kalau memang pemerintah punya goodwill yang serius untuk keseriusan untuk memperbaiki, bahwa aspek institusi kelembagaan ini yang benar-benar harus diprioritaskan, terutama kelembagaan di antara eksekutif sendiri gitu, baik dari pemerintah pusat maupun sampai pemerintah daerah.
Any edit, the government must immediately improve the structural functional of minister and institution to avoid overlapping policies that hamper competitiveness of Indonesia's manufacturing industry with other countries. From Jakarta, Rizka Yuyul Yalorena, IDX Channel.
The issue of the industrializations in Indonesia is kind of hype nowadays. But firstly, we need to understand what is actually the industrializations at the first place. So, the industrializations is the process which manufacturing declines in a society or region as a proportions of total economic activity. It is the opposite of the industrializations and therefore sometimes represents a step backward in the growth of the society's economy. And there are numbers of reasons on why society might experience the reductions in the manufacturing and other heavy industries. So let's just see the causes through the next data. Within a second, this is the cause of the industrializations. First of all, the consistent decline in the employment in manufacturing. So we can see the shifting in here where the employment from the service sector is more over to the manufacturing. So the manufacturing is kind of declined because the service sectors is dominated the market. And then the shift from the manufacturing to service sectors of the economy, as I mentioned before. And the third one is the trade deficit whose effects preclude investment in manufacturing. From the last one, it means that when a country purchases more goods than it sells, it experiences a trade imbalance, which can reduce the resources needed to support domestic manufacturing and other productions. In most cases, the trade deficit must become severe because it begins to have a negative impact on the manufacturing. During the past 25 years, employment in manufacturing as a share of the total employment has fallen dramatically in the world of most advanced economies. Those countries are often characterized as a post-industrial, meaning they are developed to the point that most of the citizens work in the service sector rather than the factory assembly lines. So what are the countries? So let's check the next graphic. So these are the post-industrial countries. As we can see, there's United States, we got Japan from Asia, and also Canada, and Switzerland, and also France. And as we see, the post-industrializations exist in Europe, Japan, and United States. And the United States was the first country with more than 50% of its workers employed in the service sector's job. In a sense, manufacturing often declines as production is shifting to the trading partners, where the costs of labor are very low. And the post-industrial society not only transformed the economy, it alters society as a whole. And recently, Harvard economists, as I mentioned it before, documented a trend so-called premature deindustrializations, in which countries start to lose their manufacturing job without getting rich first. And this is a problem. And last year in the presidential debate, candidate Prabowo Subianto said that several times that Indonesia was misdirected and deindustrialized. And if it's true, this could be bad for Indonesia. The industrialization is a challenge in Indonesia, and the reason is to achieve growth of 6% to 7% and reach advanced status, Indonesia must rely on the growth of the manufacturing industry. The government, through the Ministry of Industry, went to say that the focus is to grow the developed and manufacturing industry. Well, the closest thing that we can see is through the contributions of non-oil and gas processing industry to GDP in Indonesia. So how much is it? So let's check the next graphic. So here it is, the contributions of non-oil and gas processing industry in the GDP to Indonesia. As we can see, the trend is declining. 2016, we got a contribution in here by 18.21%, while in 2017 we can see more than 1%. It becomes like 17.89%. And then we got the next year, and over the next year until 2019, here it is. We got the list of 17.58% contributions of the non-oil and gas processing industry to the GDP. And the phenomenon of slowing industrial growth is indeed experienced in many countries. In another word, deindustrialization is normal. At least 20 countries with the largest manufacturing contributions to the GDP in the world are experiencing this phenomenon. But when it turns out to be Indonesia, is it normal? Economists from IndiHome went to say that Indonesia is experiencing slowdown in industrial growth faster than it should. Indonesia in the industrial slowdown is even faster than other countries. We can see it through the growth of the next data. So here it is, the growth of non-oil and gas processing industry. So in 2013, probably the number is kind of stay the same until 2018. It is from 5 until 4, but then in semester 1, 2019, it declines a little bit more than it should, like 3.98% from the previously on 2013. It hit 5.45%. And cumulatively, Indonesia has experienced a 7% decline in manufacturing share of GDP in the last 10 years. Peers in Asia like Thailand and Malaysia slowing no more than 4%. Not surprisingly, the industrialization has caused considerable concern in the affected economies and has given rise to vigorous debate about its cause and likely the implications. Many regards about the industrializations with alarm and suspect it as a contributed to widening economy inequality and also high employment. So what are actually the potential impacts of the industrializations? Let's see the next graphic for sure. Potential impacts of the industrializations that maybe we can feel it in Indonesia. So first of all, decrease in tax revenue. Manufacturing sectors, of course, contribute a lot in the tax revenue. Without it, the decrease in tax revenue maybe happened. And the second one, decrease in potential for new job creations. Manufacturing industry, of course, absorbs so much labor than it should, so it probably can decrease. And the third one is a national economic slowdown. And these all are the potential impacts from the industrializations. Kind of scary, but the industrializations in Indonesia is also escalated by changes in the pattern of foreign direct investment, or we can call it as FDI, which tends to be the tertiary sectors like services and digital economy compared to the secondary, which is manufacturing industry. It is easy to view that the industrializations as a result of silvering economy. In some cases, though, the phenomenon is actually a result of a maturing economy. In the United States, for example, the jobless recovery from the financial crisis of 2008 resulted in the industrializations without an actual decline in economic activity. In other words, the industrializations is not always what it looks like. So ideally, in such a developing country like Indonesia, the manufacturing industry should become a mainstay sectors supported by services, agriculture, and investment sectors. And therefore, we hope all stakeholders can unite their views and efforts to restore the industrial sectors as a development motor. So stay tuned on market headlines because we will be right back.